Religious persecution is the systematic mistreatment of an individual or group of individuals as a response to their religious beliefs or affiliations or lack thereof. The tendency of societies or groups within society to alienate or repress different subcultures is a recurring theme in human history. So the question is, are the Jehovah's Witnesses being persecuted in Russia?
No doubt you have heard that the peaceful worship of Jehovah's Witnesses is under attack in Russia. Just 1 week ago, on March 15, the Russian Ministry of Justice filed a claim with the Supreme Court of the Russian Federation seeking to declare our religious organization as extremist or criminal in nature and ban our activity.
Hello everyone, Erik Hutchinson here, Escape. A friend of mine did a post the other day that I wanted to talk to you guys about. And, it's a very thought-provoking post, and it definitely made me sit back and think about things a little bit. And I wanted to share my thoughts with you on this topic, and I wanted to get your feedback on this topic as well. So apparently, this month, on the 20th, February 2019, the Moscow Times in Russia put out a newspaper article. And this newspaper article was basically written off of a Jehovah's Witness spokesperson. What the article had stated was, a spokesperson from the Jehovah's Witnesses said Tuesday that investigators in the Siberian city of Sergent had stripped, suffocated, doused with water, and applied stun guns at least 7 believers detained on extremist charges days after criminal cases were reportedly initiated against 19 Jehovah's Witnesses following mass raids. The agents stripped the men naked, put a bag over each suspect's head, and wrapped it with tape. Agents then tied each suspect's hands behind his back, smashed his fingers, and beat him on his neck, feet, and kidney. Jared Lopes, a spokesman for the Jehovah's Witnesses, Lopes said of the investigation committee and sergeant, poured water over the men, shocked them with stun guns in the anus area, gradually increasing the strength of the shock. The victims were reportedly asked to disclose information about their meetings and leadership during the interrogation. A sergeant court placed 3 of the alleged victims of torture in custody pending trials for 2 months, with an estimated 250 local Jehovah's Witness members in the crosshairs of the authorities. When you first read that story, it's kind of shocking. And the reason that it's shocking is because this stuff has happened in the past. And it's probably still happening around the world today. I find a few issues with this. For one, this is an article that was written by a Jehovah's Witness spokesperson. A Jehovah's Witness spokesperson isn't exactly the person to be bringing this story to the public if it was true. The reason that is because Jehovah's Witnesses, they're taught to lie to the public. People that are non-believers. People that are non-Jehovah's Witnesses. So they make stories up. They've been doing this for a long time. And as a matter of fact, it's in their publications. So let's go ahead and read some of those passages in the publications so you can see where I'm getting at here. According to the Watchtower, to lie and deceive in the interest of their religion is scripturally approved. They call such lying Theocratic war strategy. As quoted in the Watchtower, 1957, May 1st, page 285, a witness of Jehovah was going from house to house in eastern Germany when she met a violent opposer. Knowing at once what to expect, she changed her red blouse for a green one in the very next hallway. No sooner had she appeared on the street than a communist officer asked her if she had seen a woman with a red blouse. No, she replied, and went on her way. Did she lie? No, she did not. She was not a liar. Rather, she was using theocratic war strategy, hiding the truth by action and word for sake of ministry. The book, Qualified to be Ministers, 1955, says, Jehovah's Witnesses are an organization of truth. The Watchtower Society informs its followers that they are not under obligation to divulge truthful information to people who are not entitled to it. Quote from Insight of the Scriptures, Volume 2, page 245. Also, for the purpose of protecting the interests of God's cause, it is proper to hide the truth from God's enemies. This comes under the term war strategy. That's from the Watchtower, 1960, June 1st, page 352. Now, I understand that the Jehovah's Witnesses, they believe they're being persecuted. They're trying to set up a case for persecution. The Russians are not singling out the Jehovah's Witnesses. Russia has laws against extremist religions that have extreme practices. The ruling that Russia put down wasn't based on what the Jehovah's Witnesses believe that happens when we die, and it's not based on the religion itself. The ruling is based on the religious practices of that organization. They've classified the practices of the organization as extremist. So they've created laws protecting the public from this extremist organization that sends people door to door to grab and pull into their cult so they can control and manipulate people from the public. So essentially they can grow their bank account. That's all this is, growing their bank account. Now that Russia has kicked them out and told them that they can't practice their religion anymore in public areas, and that they can't be pushing their beliefs door to door as Jehovah's Witnesses are known to do. Now the Jehovah's Witnesses have taken up metaphorical arms, I guess you could say. So what they do is they took to social media, they took to the web to create a fear, a paranoia, to scare the believers into standing up against Russia, trying to convince the believers that Russia is oppressing the Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, for the people that think that Russia is being a bit extreme, well, how about we look at the Constitution of the United States and see what the Constitution of the United States states. The First Amendment guarantees separation of church and state, that our government is not going to force a religion on the population of the United States. So therefore, we don't have a declared religion of the United States. The reason that we do that is because we want everyone to be on fair, equal grounds. However, as far as their beliefs in what happens when we die, and if there's a creator, if there isn't a creator, and whatever. However, there's two clauses to the First Amendment. The second clause is the Free Exercise Clause. The Free Exercise Clause is the one that we're going to focus on for this topic right now. I'm going to paraphrase for you. The Free Exercise Clause is a clause that was established to separate beliefs, religious beliefs, and religious practices. So, in our Constitution itself, in the second clause of the First Amendment, it states that our government cannot force a belief or take a belief away from somebody. However, if your belief encompasses extreme practices, the government has the right to rule over your practices. The clause protects individuals from laws that would expressly inhibit them from engaging in religious practices. The Supreme Court has interpreted limits to the Free Exercise Clause and allowed the government to legislate against certain religious practices, such as bigamy. Bigamy basically is if you're married and you get remarried without getting a divorce. That's illegal. However, you have religions such as, the fundamentalist part of Mormonism, polygamy. Polygamy, bigamy, it's, one of the same. And it's illegal to have multiple wives. Well, that trumps the religious beliefs. Why? Because it's an extreme religious practice that we don't allow. So, are the Mormons being persecuted? No, they aren't. So now, as we go back to Russia, knowing that the United States itself has laws limiting practices of religious organizations, what did Russia do? Russia simply banned the religion because their law states they do not allow extremist religions to practice in the country. They do that to protect the public. They do that to protect people that are in a vulnerable, weak state from being pulled and manipulated by groups like this. So they made laws. The Jehovah's Witnesses are openly and deliberately breaking the laws in Russia that have been formed against that religion. The laws were created because of the extreme practices associated to the beliefs of the religion. And when we talk about extreme practices, I'm not trying to go in depth here because I have a whole bunch of videos that you can scroll back through and check out. But we're talking about hiding pedophiles. We're talking about denying blood transfusions so the Watchtower can collect on your life insurance policy. So as we have people that are becoming very hip to the Jehovah's Witnesses way, mostly because of people like us that are out there putting this information out, giving the other side of the coin, because this is a very unpopular stance to take, to stand up against religion. But somebody needs to do it. In my opinion, I feel like the Jehovah's Witnesses are scrambling now. Reason is, it's the beginning of the end. Now that we got a country calling them extremist, now it's time for other countries to follow in suit. Because they are extremist. The amount of families that they've torn apart, the amount of people that they hurt. It's just, why hasn't this been done a long time ago? At the end of the day, what you believe is no concern to me, and what I believe should be no concern to you. However, if what I believe is affecting you and your family, then it matters. Then your opinion about what I believe should matter. Reason is, when does somebody's rights get to step and trample on somebody else's rights? Never. We're all equal. The Jehovah's Witness organization, the religious sect, the cult, they are pathological liars. They teach their followers to be liars. My question is how do you hold a religious group accountable without everybody thinking the religious group is being persecuted? You have to know the difference between religious beliefs and religious practices. Beliefs, practices, two separate things. You can have beliefs of whatever you want. But when you start having practices that are hurtful and harmful associated to the beliefs, and you're programming your members to follow these beliefs which lead them into these extreme practices, that has to be regulated. That has to be watched. So, what the question is now is that, are the Jehovah's Witnesses deliberately disobeying and breaking the Russian laws? Of course they are. That's why this is happening. If the Jehovah's Witnesses quit breaking Russian laws, they wouldn't be having any problems in Russia. Why do you feel the need as Jehovah's Witnesses to force your religion? Why do you feel the need to hurt other people? Why do you feel the need to stand against the world and stand against society, calling the world and society all around the world the wicked system of things? The Jehovah's Witnesses for too long have demonized the public. Well, now they're reaching out to the public, crying, lying, trying to manipulate the public to have a bleeding heart for this horrible corporation. This corporation that destroys families, destroys lives, encourages people to commit suicide, encourages people to martyr themselves for a bunch of rich, privileged people. 8 men, or I think it's 9 now. I think they just picked up a new governing body member. But why? Why? Jehovah's Witnesses, if you want things to get better, change your practices. Fix your practices. Get the hate out of your religion. Get the hate and the segregation under control. Quit mistreating your followers and your members. If you weren't mistreating your followers and your members, none of this would be happening. It's pretty simple. You have to let the overbearing control of your audience go. Treat people as people, not as numbers. Treat your followers as if you care for them. Treat the people that you're trying to convince that you know what happens when we die. Treat them with respect. When you're ripping apart families left and right to protect your bank account, I have problems with that. There's a lot of us that have problems with that. All of this just makes me shake my head. Because at the end of the day, it's a simple fix. Simple fix. Quit being assholes. That's it. Very simple. If you don't want to be categorized as an extremist religion, then don't be extremist. You can be religious and spiritual without being an extremist. Not all religion is extremist. Not all individuals are extremist. However, the Jehovah's Witness religion is an extremist religion. It needs to be treated as such worldwide. So basically, what all this comes down to for me is that right now there's a religious battle going on, like there always is, because it never stops. And the religious battle is between the Jehovah's Witness Corporation, extremist group, and the Russian government. Well, does the outcome of what happens with the Russian government against the Jehovah's Witness affect you? Does it affect us? It does. Does it affect us in a negative way? It doesn't. Does it affect us in a positive way? It does. The reason it does is it puts the line in the sand between practices and beliefs. Jehovah's Witnesses got kicked out of Russia because of their extremist religious practices, not about what they believe when we die. So again, religious persecution is persecuting somebody because of religious beliefs or affiliations, not practices. Practices should be governed with a tight iron fist. Being that religions are so loosely regulated and watched, look at the outcome, folks. Look at our world. You can't honestly look around and say this is awesome. You can't look around and say, yeah, this is how it's supposed to be. It's not. America, we need to follow Russia's example and ban the extremist religions out of this country. Completely ban them out of the country. And then the religions that are remaining, that are non-extremist, they get taxed. That somebody does need to step in and protect the people from this organization. You know, I'm not one for persecuting anybody for their religious beliefs. I don't believe religious beliefs should ever be outlawed. However, I do think all religious practices should be put in check. I feel our government should know the practices that are associated with every religion within the confines of our country. And the government should rule on their practices and allow them or disallow them to continue the practices. You know, we're all on a mission here to make the world a better place. At least people say we are. At least people think they are. How do you make the world a better place? By maintaining the status quo. Look at what the status quo is. War, poverty, hunger, abuse, manipulation, extortion, greed, you name it. How do we change the world? We have to start taking some drastic steps. And there's two things that need to be addressed. Two, our religious institutions and our legal institutions. We have to break away from the status quo. We've been trying to figure out a way to be successful and to change the world within the confines of this little box that we've been permitted to live in. That's not where we're going to find our solutions, folks. We need to get out of the box. We need to come at this from a different angle. So instead of being upset that Russia is taking the lead on this, we should probably look at what they're doing and follow suit. I don't expect anybody to take my word on everything that I said. However, what I want you to do is I want you to research for yourself. I want you to look into this. You need to know this stuff. We all do, because this affects us. We all know that America's been having these political fights, and Russia is a topic. The Jehovah's Witnesses are being opportunist about that right now. And a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth about Russia right now because of everything that's happened in politics. Well, it is what it is. However, whatever's happened out there, look at this situation as its own. Research it as its own. Don't research it with preconceived notions about Russia. Instead, do your research to find out why they banned this religion. And I'll say this again, I think Russia did right. Every country should ban this religion. Reason is, the religion refuses to fix its problems. Fix your problems, Jehovah's Witnesses, and this will go away. But as long as you guys stick to your guns, and as long as you guys are dead set and adamant about protecting your ridiculous religious practices that you're even afraid to talk about to people in public, well, this is going to keep happening. Are they being physically abused? I say no. I say you can't trust a Jehovah's Witness. Until we have some independent reports coming out, I'm taking this stance. But if torture is happening, and if by some miracle of God that this Jehovah's Witness spokeshole is accurate, which I highly doubt, well, then we do have a problem. Religious persecution is wrong. Separating anybody out and segregating people and treating them as if they're the scourge of the earth is wrong. And then to physically torture people, there is never a reason to physically torture anybody. For any reason. Not even pedophiles. I know people say they want revenge, and revenge never solves anything. Instead, everything gets done legally. Everybody has their due process. Everybody has their right. And then from that point, they get punished accordingly. It's just really hard for me to have a bleeding heart with the Jehovah's Witnesses when you see how much damage they do. It's just... now they want us to have a bleeding heart for them. And people wonder why our world's so screwed up. Oh, God. I don't know. Until the Jehovah's Witnesses quit lying, until they can prove that they are not pathological liars, until they release a public news article stating their beliefs and practices. Get rid of the beliefs. If the Jehovah's Witnesses want to prove that their religious practices should be accepted and condoned, here's my challenge, Jehovah's Witnesses. Do a media release about what your practices are in detail. Do a public release of Shepherding the Flock of God Elders Manual. And do a public release of your preparing for child custody cases. Until you guys become transparent about your religion and what it's all about, this is just going to keep happening, and it's going to get worse. You want bleeding hearts? You want people to care about you? Be honest. Tell people what your religion is. Tell them how you protect pedophiles. Tell them how you take people's life insurance policies that die when you guys don't allow blood transfusions, so you lower people's chances of survival. Tell them that stuff, because it's real. Tell them about the articles that the Watchtower releases telling abused women to stay with their abuser because, well, after all, it is a human being, so you gotta be nice to them. Stay in an abusive household. There's a lot to this. But the main reason that I wanted to put this edit together is for my friend, actually. And I just want her to know that, you know, I know going between the two worlds right now is very difficult. It really is. But you got to remember, people are going to continue to lie to you. They're going to continue to try to pull you in their direction. I just don't know what to say about the situation anymore. I mean, it is what it is. Anyways. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in. And remember, hit the like button and please subscribe. And I will be seeing you guys soon. All right. Have a good one.